I'm Logan. You know that feeling when you walk into school, and it's like the spotlight's on you because you're so stunning. Yeah, that's never been my experience. I'm more like the invisible kid, the one teacher might overlook if I didn't remind them I exist. To add to the fun, I've got this massive crush on Samuel, our school's heartthrob. He's the kind of guy who could make any girl swoon with just a smile. And me, I'm just the girl who blushes and stammers if he happens to glance my way. So, there I was, minding my own business in the cafeteria with my friend Gavin when I spotted Samuel chilling with his cool clique. Naturally, I couldn't resist stealing glances at him, probably looking like a lost puppy in the process. Suddenly, Gavin decides to be the hero and throws a tomato at me to snap me out of it, announcing to the entire cafeteria that he's trying to talk to me. Mortifying. Right. But then he goes one step further and strolls over to Samuel's table, striking up a conversation. Panic mode activated. Next thing I know, Samuel's motioning for me to join them. So, I plaster on my best poker face and go over, Gavin in tow. Surprisingly, they treat us like we're part of the crew, and we start chatting. Everything's going smoothly until the topic shifts to the upcoming homecoming dance, and who's taking who. I muster the courage to ask Samuel who he's taking, and that's when disaster strikes. One of his buddies pipes up, "Why isn't Aurora going with you?" Cue the laughter. I wanted the floor to swallow me whole, but I play it off like it's no big deal, telling them Samuel doesn't have to take me because I already have a boyfriend. Smooth, right? Except there's no boyfriend, not even close. In a desperate bid to save face, I glance at Gavin, silently pleading for backup. And bless him, he rolls with it, spinning some yarn about my imaginary French boyfriend who conveniently plays polo and Jetson every few months. Fast forward to the day of the party, and Samuel's asking about my French beau. I scramble to come up with an excuse, claiming he missed his flight. It's a mess, but hey, at least I dodged that bullet. I kept up the charade all night, weaving the same tale about my imaginary French boyfriend whenever someone asked. But then, out of nowhere, Gavin lost it. He screamed, "She's lying." I froze, not sure what was happening. Gavin grabbed me, shaking me, and confessed his love right then and there. Was like a bomb went off in my world. In a daze, I watched Gavin storm out of the party. I couldn't just let him go, not after everything. So I followed him outside, my heart racing. And then, impulsively, I took his hand and kissed him. And you know what? It was incredible. That kiss changed everything. We ended up dating for the rest of high school. But even though Gavin was amazing, I couldn't shake off my feelings for Samuel. They lingered, gnawing at me from the inside. So one day, I decided to come clean to Gavin about my unrequited love. Turns out, he already knew, and his reaction. He dumped his milkshake on me in the middle of a coffee shop. Talk about humiliating. Thankfully, graduation rolled around soon after, and I left that messy chapter behind me. With Gavin out of the picture, my thoughts kept drifting back to Samuel. I found myself obsessed, stalking his every move. And then came university. I was thrilled to be starting afresh, especially since Samuel was headed to the same college. That summer leading up to it felt endless without Gavin or Samuel around. But finally, the first day arrived, and there he was, looking just as captivating as ever. I played it cool, masking my excitement as we greeted each other, and by some cosmic coincidence, we ended up with identical schedules. It was like fate was nudging us together. We became study buddies, party pals. I was content just being his friend. But one night, at a party, I threw caution to the wind. I couldn't take it anymore. After years of pining, I kissed him. And let me tell you, it was electric. That moment changed everything. He kissed me back, and in that moment, it felt like time stood still. We spent the night together, and the next after that. Before I knew it, I was officially Samuel's boyfriend. I was over the moon, so happy that I even told him those 3 little words, "I love you." But then came the bombshell. Samuel confessed that he already had a girlfriend. I was crushed, furious, betrayed. How could he lead me on like that? He suggested we keep our relationship a secret, and for some reason, I agreed. Looking back, I can't believe I let him manipulate me like that. After storming off in tears, I realized I couldn't just give up on him. I'd waited so long to be with him, I wasn't about to let some other girl swoop in and take him away. So, I swallowed my pride and went back to him, telling him I was okay with being his secret lover. But then came the fateful day when Samuel showed up at a party with his girlfriend on his arm. And who was she? None other than Savannah, the queen bee of our school. How did I not see this coming? They'd been together for almost a year, and I was clueless. It was like a slap in the face. To make matters worse, Savannah had orchestrated the whole thing. She wanted to humiliate me in front of everyone. She recorded every moment I professed my love to Samuel and played it for the whole party to see. I was mortified, humiliated, shattered. It was like reliving that nightmare of a spring break party all over again. Couldn't bear to face them, so I dropped out of college. I got a job at a local market, hoping to disappear from everyone's radar. That's where I met Luke, a regular customer who eventually became my boyfriend. He was there for me during my lowest moments, offering comfort and support. But strange things started happening. Luke would vanish for days without a word, ignoring my calls and texts. When I confronted him, he blamed it on being tired of me. It was like history repeating itself, and I realized I was falling into the same cycle of heartbreak all over again. No, I couldn't bear another humiliating blow. The pain from Samuel and Savannah's betrayal still stung, and now I had another burden to bear. 2 weeks after everything fell apart, I discovered I was pregnant. When I told Luke, his reaction was far from supportive. He wanted nothing to do with the baby, claiming he was afraid of fatherhood. In my anguish, I cut him out of my life completely. As the days passed, my due date drew closer, and I found myself alone, jobless, and homeless. I reached out to Gavin, my old friend, hoping for a shred of compassion, but he turned me away. With my parents long gone, I had no one to turn to. The only option left was a shelter, where I found solace among other women facing similar struggles. Together, we shared our stories, leaned on each other for support, and formed a bond that helped alleviate the loneliness. In the quiet of those nights, with Nora cradled in my arms, I reflected on my past mistakes. I realized that I had spent too much of my life chasing after men, neglecting what truly mattered. Nora became my sole focus, my reason for striving for a better life. I returned to my job as a cashier and enrolled in online classes, determined to build a stable future for us. Things seemed to be looking up until Luke resurfaced, demanding to see his daughter. His erratic behavior and threats terrified me, but I was willing to do anything to protect Nora. I gave in to his demands for money, hoping it would appease him. But his demands only grew more insistent, and his visits more frequent. When I finally refused to give him any more money, he erupted in violence, wreaking havoc in the supermarket. Thankfully, the owner intervened and called the police, leading to Luke's arrest. It was a relief to know he was behind bars, but it also brought to light his criminal past, leaving me shaken by the realization of how close I had come to danger. I explained to the store owner how Luke had drained me of all my savings, and that I had my daughter Nora to take care of. His response was unexpected yet incredibly kind. He mentioned they had a guest house sitting unused, and despite their inability to have children of their own, they had a soft spot for kids. They offered me and Nora a place to stay in the guest house while I juggled work and studies. Life finally seemed to be smoothing out. I continued attending group therapy and assisting my friends, all while living and working just next door to the store. The owner and his wife became like surrogate parents to me, filling a void I had felt since childhood. Nora blossomed and eventually started kindergarten. After years of dedication, I proudly graduated with a degree in economics and received an enticing job offer in the city. On my way to the interview, I couldn't shake off the sadness of potentially leaving behind my newfound family. But upon arriving, I was taken aback to find Samuel waiting as the interviewer. My heart raced as I took in his familiar features. Throughout the interview, he wore that same confident grin, and I couldn't help but wonder what he was up to. As we wrapped up, he locked the door and made his way back to me, planting a kiss without a word. He confessed he missed me and expressed his excitement about working together. For a moment, I was swept up in the whirlwind of emotions. But then, I noticed a portrait on the shelf, Samuel and Savannah in wedding attire. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Samuel hadn't changed. He was still the same smooth-talking charmer. I sat there in stunned silence, realizing I was on the brink of repeating past mistakes. In that moment of clarity, I knew I couldn't abandon my supportive community, my loving surrogate parents, and the friends I had made for a job in the city, especially not with Samuel. It was a wake-up call, a reminder that some dreams are better left unchased. For once, clarity washed over me like a gentle wave. Returning home, I found my foster parents in tears, their love for Nora and me palpable. It was a love I'd yearned for but never truly experienced. As Nora chattered excitedly about making a new friend named Aurora, I couldn't shake the wish that her life would be free from the hardships I'd endured. A few weeks later, when we welcomed Aurora into our home, her father called for directions. His voice sent shivers down my spine. I knew it instantly. It was Gavin, my old friend. The realization flooded me with shame. I'd hurt Gavin deeply, yet there he was, naming his daughter after me. He was a better man than I deserved. In our conversation, Gavin revealed he harbored no regrets. He'd made peace with the past and cherished his wife dearly. Despite my past transgressions, he welcomed me back with open arms, eager to rebuild our friendship. Tears filled my eyes as I promised never to hurt him again. As we reunited, our embrace felt like an eternity, and despite any assumptions, our reunion remained innocent. I'd grown, learned from my mistakes, and left foolishness behind. I continued working at my parents' market before eventually opening my own financial aid office in town. Nora and Aurora blossomed into best friends, mirroring the rekindled bond between Gavin, his wife, and me. Our laughter echoed through the memories of our school days, reminding me that those years held more joy than I'd remembered. Gavin taught me that holding on to cherished memories can transform life into a true blessing.